Good afternoon all. Today I want to have a look at this thing. It's my IHD in-home display. So this is a little display unit. It's plugged into the mains via a 5-volt USB adapter. It's got a little stand there. And it shows you your daily usage. So far today, this house has used 30 pence of gas, and it's used 74 pence worth of electricity. It also shows you, if you click the so far today thing, which is a button actually, shows you so far this week, gas and electric, so far this month, and so far this year. Now I assume that's from the 1st of January. There is a fifth display here, and that is usage now. But as you can see, that's showing £0 per hour. So we have no electricity usage because the solar panels on my roof are actually generating electricity more than the house is using. This number here is the amount being generated by the solar panels minus the house usage, and that's going out to the grid as indicated here. You've got electricity going out to the nearest pylon. So my usage now is 0. I'm actually exporting to the grid, and I do get paid for this, and I get paid more than the default silly amounts of 5p or 7p. I think 7.5 with Octopus Energy. I'm on the Agile Outgoing tariff, so I get paid an amount which changes every half an hour, and it's based on the wholesale price of electricity. And there are graphs for that, which I should be able to show you actually. But anyway, you can see that usage now is 0, and I'm exporting. So what I'm going to do is actually switch off the solar power system, which I can do from here. So on my tablet here, I've got the interface to the Wi-Fi energy meter, which is recording energy from the solar panels. And if I go back, oh, this tablet's so slow. There's a giant button here, and if I press it, the solar power system will switch off. Now it disconnects the inverter on the AC side. You should never disconnect your DC side of your inverter when it's under load. You'll get a giant arc. So they always say turn off the AC side. So let's turn it off. There should be a click, which is the power meter. This will update in a moment and show usage now. And that will be the usage by the house. So that's probably, well, I mean, it's things like the Sky box, which is on standby, the Wi-Fi router and modem, and possibly the fridge if it's on. So the house is using 4p an hour, 149 watts is my current usage. So that's the fifth display. Now I don't want to leave this off for too long because, well, time is money when you've got solar panels that could be generating. Now if I turn this back on, I think it can take up to 2 minutes for the solar inverter to actually synchronize with the mains and kick back in, so that might take a little while. So if we go back home, what else can we see on this thing? Well, you've got a set of menus here: account, history, budget, meter info, IHD info, things like software version, and messages. And I do have some messages, they're all the same. Welcome to Octopus Energy. Welcome to Octopus Energy. Every time I phone Octopus Energy and I say something needs sorting out, they send me a welcome to Octopus Energy message. I don't quite know why. So let's go into account. I don't think there's anything doxy in here. Bill so far this period. I don't really know what the period is. It's probably a billing period. I don't know which day it starts, so these numbers are pretty meaningless really. Now these are the tariffs. So currently I'm on the 28p per kilowatt hour for electricity, 7.5p per kilowatt hour for gas. These are the standing charges. So every day, even if you don't use any electricity, you'll pay 43.12 pence for that, for having the electricity connected to your house. It is really a line rental. And the standing charge for gas is 27 pence. My customer identification number is 0000, and I don't even have one for gas. For a long time, the gas part of this wasn't even working. And it was only when my smart meter went wrong and then was subsequently eventually fixed that sort of the gas thing came up and running, and my account type is credit. In other words, I'm not on a prepayment meter. What else have we got in here? History, so you can look at your daily, weekly, and whatever usage going back in time. You can set budgets. I've set mine to £2 for electricity and £2 for gas per day, but they're probably not going to be very relevant come winter. Meter info, I think it's just a load of numbers. Oh, you can see the actual meter readings. So since we got the smart electricity meter, it's clocked up 3,200 kilowatt hours. And funnily enough, the gas is measured here in cubic meters rather than kilowatt hours. And there is a conversion between the two, but of course it varies depending on things like, well, I think temperature comes into it, calorific value of the gas, and all that kind of complicated stuff. So that covers most of what's in here. IHD info, GUID number, and a software version. This is actually an IHD6. It's the sixth variant of the in-home display. Well, by this manufacturer. Who is the manufacturer? It's Chameleon Technology UK Limited. It's an IHD6 2021, and there are the GUIDs, and there's a MAC address. The CHAN MAC, I don't think it's Chan. I think it might be CHAN. HAN stands for Home Area Network. And this device, I'll go back to the home screen. Actually, let's go to the export and see if the solar inverter is back up and running. And I'm exporting a kilowatt to the grid. This device communicates with the smart meter using, and it's not on here, it's actually on the plastic here, using Zigbee. So the home area network is a Zigbee network. And if we have a look at the smart meter, you can see here on the comms hub, this is the sort of plastic box that's stuck on top of the smart meter itself. There's the ingoing, live, neutral, and the outgoing. This comms hub also has that Zigbee logo there. And one of the lights, see if I can get in on that. Yes, one of them is called HAN. So that's the home area network. So all these things seem to be working. Finally, now the WAN is also working. It wasn't for 4 months, but it suddenly started working again. And also the gas meter, which is outside, is also communicating with the electricity meter. The gas meter evidently has a 10-year battery in it, and it transmits fairly infrequently, so that battery lasts a long time. That's also communicating with this comms hub. And then the comms hub, of course, also has a SIM in it, and it connects to the wide area network, the WAN, using the mobile data network. Not sure whether it's 3G or 4G. This might be an old 3G one. And of course, eventually they will shut down the 3G mobile data networks. So the gas meter is out here in this box, and spider alert. Oh yeah, there's a beauty there, look. Hello mate. Hello mates, just borrowing your house for a few minutes. So there's the gas meter. Now the display stays off most of the time to save power, but this gas meter periodically communicates. Now I don't know whether it's over that Zigbee. In fact, the reason I'm out here really is to see whether there's a Zigbee logo on there, and I can't see a Zigbee logo, so maybe there's some other wireless mechanism it uses to communicate from here to the electric meter. Interestingly, there's some stuff on there. Battery is lithium SOCl2, 3.6 volts DC, 19 amp hours. I wonder if that's a primary lithium cell. In other words, a non-rechargeable. Is primary non-rechargeable? I think it is. But anyway, that's the gas meter. So yes, the gas meter talks to the electricity meter over some sort of wireless network, and then the wireless link between the IHD, this thing, and the smart electricity meter is Zigbee. This also has Wi-Fi, and you can put your Wi-Fi credentials in here, and this unit can link to, well, I don't know where it links to, and I don't really know what it does. It doesn't seem to do much, but I think the idea is that if they update the software for this unit, it goes and gets it over the Wi-Fi link. But I mean, if you're using this on battery, and you can just take this plug out. It dims the display a little bit, but the idea with this is that you can now walk around the house and you can switch on and off various appliances, and using the usage now display, you can see by how much this value changes, and therefore what the usage of individual devices is. Of course, it's subject to things switching on and off. If you're checking a device and then the fridge kicks in, you may get strange results, and you might actually be better off checking individual devices with some sort of individual appliance energy meter like this thing, rather than using your smart meter IHD. If you're wondering whether I'm going to take this apart, I am, but I just wanted to go through all the functionality of this thing first. Right, let's take this apart. I just wanted to say before I do, the solar panels are generating probably about 750 watts at the moment. If you're interested to know what that translates to in terms of cloud cover, I'll go and point my camera at the sky. And that's what the sky looks like today. It's fairly well overcast, but it's sort of bright overcast, so about a kilowatt under these conditions. Right, I have taken this apart once before, and I seem to remember you have to get this black cover off. So I'm going to try going in from the top, because I can see a few marks where I might have done this once before. Oh, yeah, that was pretty easy. So that comes off. It's just clipped on via these clips here, I believe. On-off switch is there, and now I can see two screws. So let's take those out and see what's inside here. What I was particularly interested in, I have taken this apart before, as I say, is what this battery is. Let's light the thing up. There's a battery symbol there. What type of battery is in there? I was kind of hoping it might be something like a supercapacitor, but looking at this display, there's no way a supercat would run that for 1 or 2 hours. So it's almost certainly a lithium. Well, I know it's a lithium because I have taken this apart before. Right, let's undo these two screws, and I can feel the front coming off immediately. Oh, that's nice and neat. Nothing on that back cover. And there it is. And there's our lithium cell. So here's our lithium cell. 3.7 volts, 200 milliamp hours. 3 wires going to that, which is interesting. I wonder if one of the wires, the white one perhaps, is a charge wire, and the red one is a discharge wire. I'm just thinking, this thing sits on mains pretty much all the time and is very rarely disconnected. So if this were me designing this, I'd want this only to charge up to not anywhere near the full 4.2 volts. Might limit it to no more than 4, or even a bit less than that perhaps. Right, a couple of tin cans, which presumably are the radio modules. Now, as we know, there's a Zigbee. Oh, look, there's a ZB there. I wonder if that means Zigbee. There's a Zigbee module in here, and there's a Wi-Fi module, because that's the power level for Zigbee, and that's the power level for Wi-Fi. What else have we got? We've got a chip. We'll have a look at that in a minute. I've actually noticed there's a little anti-tamper switch there, which springs out when the cover is removed. Now, there's nothing on the display that shows up when you press that, so maybe it's not implemented, but it's interesting that it's there. There's an inductor there, so there's some power supply components here. This is presumably some sort of controller. Let's take a closer look at that. Well, it's a BRT QQ car, FT800Q, and that is possibly a date code. So whatever that chip is, maybe I could type that into Google and put IHD in the search string. Let's try that. Well, it's this. It's a Bridgetech FT800 embedded video engine. Includes graphic controller, audio processing, and it says 64 voice polyphonic sound synthesizer. Mine just goes beep, so that's not really being fully utilized. Built-in graphics. It also has a 4-wire touchscreen controller for a resistive touchscreen on the display, so that's how they're doing the display touch control. But it doesn't seem to have a built-in microcontroller, so I don't think this is the controller. It's got a built-in crystal, so there's probably a microcontroller perhaps on the underside of that PCB. Right, so there's two little clips here, this one and the one up here, where the board could be lifted up, and I can lift it up a little bit, but I can see there are ribbon cables here. I think 2. It looks like there's a 4-wire one, so that's probably going to the touch screen overlay because, oh, it's gone dim, but it is still on. This has a resistive touch overlay. It's resistive, you know that because you have to press it quite hard. There's also the ribbon cable presumably to the graphics display, but also of course you've got these wires going to this battery, which is stuck down with a piece of double-sided foamy pad. So unfortunately I'm not going to be able to lift this in any direction to flip it over and see what's on the back of it, but I think we have to assume there's a microcontroller on the back because this graphics controller chip and touchscreen overlay controller chip doesn't have built-in graphics. The 2 tin cans are, as I say, Wi-Fi and Zigbee presumably, unless that can be done in one radio module. I don't know whether is Zigbee on 2.4 gigs? I can't remember what frequency band Zigbee uses. Well, I've noticed there are 2 antennae or aerials here. We've got A2 up here, and it's just a sort of loop and then a stick sticking out near CAN 2, and I presume this is CAN 1, although I can't see that name next to it. Oh, there it is, yeah, CAN 1, and that has A1. So there are 2 radio modules, each having their own separate antenna, so I can only assume that they are Zigbee on one and Wi-Fi on the other. But anyway, that's what's in an in-home display. So let's just put the screws back in there. So during the day, I tend to have this thing on the outgoing energy display, and this really tells me how much power the solar panels are generating over and above what the house is using. Well, the house is only ever using about 150 to 200 watts, and this tells me whether there's enough energy to plug my car in. There really isn't today, unless I want to use some grid electricity as well as the sort of kilowatt of solar that there is. And then in the evening I'll switch it to the usage display to scare the family into seeing how much energy we're using. Incidentally, that's quite tight, isn't it? Yeah, that's gone back on. If you're thinking, Julian, you've only used 30p of gas today, but if you look in account and standing charges, 27p of that gas is the standing charge. So actually, you've only used threepence of gas today. How on earth is that possible if you've all had a shower? Well, the fact is we haven't, because we're a bit strange. We have showers in the evening, showers and baths in the evening. It sort of came from my wife. She converted me to being an evening shower person. She's originally from Hong Kong, so a fairly sort of humid country. And I think they tend to shower in the evening because you don't really want to be taking a body full of sweat into your bed at night. So we don't use much. That's probably a couple of hand washing sessions this morning. The threepence of gas that we've used. And of course, if you subtract the, 45p or so of electricity, a standing charge from the 75, then we've only used 30 pence of electricity today, and we won't use any until the sun goes down, because this thing is constantly exporting to the grid and offsetting the whole house usage, probably until about 5 or 6 p.m. this evening. This thing is definitely brighter if you plug the USB in. Incidentally, there's a funny notch on here and a little cutout there, and I think the idea is because the power supply on here is absolutely tiny, it probably only supplies 0.5 amp, and they don't want you plugging this into a smartphone and overloading the little plug-in power supply. Yeah, that's definitely brighter when you have it plugged in all the time. But my primary use for this thing during the day is this display, just to see how well my solar panels are doing. So as I say, I keep that on that screen pretty much all day. So that's what's inside an IHD6. I presume it's the 6th generation of in-home display. When you get a smart meter, you get one of these thrown in for good measure, so I didn't have to buy this, but I don't want to break it because I don't want to have to buy a replacement if it stops working. IHD6, that's it. Cheerio.